Hi, everybody. Welcome to Con and the Duck from beautiful downtown Hackensack and from Maryland with Duck, Roger Joseph Dale Edward Allen Tompkins Walsh, and Jamar S. Russell. Two great poets, but also two people who have escaped captivity. Jamar at the hands of the American legal system for which he took responsibility, and I at the hands of the mine police from which I just outweighted everybody till all my oppressives died. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. How are you, Jamar?
Man, I'm alright. I just been overwhelmed by all of this snow. Um, this will actually be my first time uh, home in this office. I've been away, um, and that's the whole thing. And then coming back to see all of the ice and stuff that I have to remove in the morning, and just figuring out how to push forward through all of this and the other things that I have to catch up on. So
Right.
it's life.
Well, the funny thing is, I don't mean, we were buried under about a foot of snow in Hackensack too. So, and everything's dug out, but it's still like there's a heavy blanketing of snow about 6 to 9 inches on the ground, and so it's been like the first really big storm in like a couple of years, I think. But it's yeah, but what I find really funny, to tell you the truth, is apparently everybody is analyzing snow because everybody swears that most of what people say are snow is not snow. It's like styrofoam or all sorts of like different objects, plastics and stuff. And it's just like crazy what people are saying, but and then they put it under a microscope and it's true, it's like, what the hell is going on? But want to start it with the poem, or should I?
Sure. You could go ahead and start out. Find me one.
Well, as I was telling you before the show, I've been making very interesting connections on social media. I connected with supposedly Sandra Bullock and also Elon Musk, which I just ended because he was trying to get me to join his investment group. But anyway, but the most interesting one that I came across was Caitlin Clark, the WNBA star. I mean, actually the greatest female basketball player of all time, even though she's only in her second year as a pro. But this is just my personal opinion, or evaluation from a lack of knowledge. But anyway, so she and I connected on WhatsApp, and she said it was her birthday, and she says, I hope you're going to send me a gift and everything. So I didn't send her a gift, but I wrote her a poem, and and as I say, this is up to the date, up to the minute poetry. So everything I've been reading up to now on the show has been from 2018 and before, but this is a real deal, real Dale Holyfield deal with my poetry now, and it goes, best wishes for superstar birthday. When Indiana needs a swish, you're answered every wish. Whether team needs 2 or 3, you always manage to get free to begin a great scoring spree. And to tell truth, I do admire the intensity of your fire, watching you intensely play, increasing focus each new day, impressing all with your talent that Lord to you happily sent, knowing no chance would be wasted after his glory you tasted. Winning first trophy as a child, because you put on display wild. For those lucky to see first game that would start legend of your name. And so I wish you great solar return, as for greater levels you burn, while fans do truly appreciate the degree to which you followed fate.
Hmm.
So that's best wishes for your 24th year, Caitlin Clark, and we're just waiting for you for all those gangsters to get out of the WNBA so we can get to some serious playmaking instead of hoodlumism against you. And I don't mean to stereotype, but that's the image that's come across on the social media and the YouTubes and stuff I've watched about Caitlin Clark and also Sophie Cunningham. I'm sure you know her. She's like the enforcer for Caitlin Clark. And if anybody like screws with Caitlin, she has to answer to Sophie Cunningham. But apparently now Sophie Cunningham is leaving the team, and it's all confused. And who really cares? It's all screens anyway. But you got something for us in response to that, Jamar?
Not necessarily in response, but I do have something that I don't believe I've read on here. And this is entitled Lessons. Lessons. Learning men and how to deal with them. Stressing. Learning lessons on how to live with them. When to give it up and move on. When to accept that shit is gone. When to see folks for who they are. When to know this is beneath Jamal. Lessons. Teaching me through growing pains. Lessons. Teaching me to focus and aim. There's goals to be achieved. Books I have to read. Cause I have to lead. Deadlines I have to meet. So my lessons have taught me to stop living in the past. There's no time for that when there's work at hand. Lessons, they cost a little bit, sometimes a lot, but I'll gain a little bit. And to get what I want to get, I can't stop because my lessons have taught me of the greats. And what I've learned is that I can get there. Just keep working through the ache. So that's lessons.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, so today is purpose, right?
Purpose.
So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with this.
Okay.
All right. And get to reading. So you can see it?
I can.
Okay, do I need to
Maybe blow it up a little bit.
Yeah. How about that?
About 100, yeah, 125 would be good.
That's good?
Yeah, it's good.
All right. Purpose. I'm grateful been given this opportunity by my brother in the pen, Mr. Amin. When he commissioned me with the task, I immediately began writing. After sharing what I initially wrote, I was asked the question of what it was that I wanted to accomplish. The thing that I want the most right now is my freedom, and I asked myself, could this help me obtain that, and if so, in what way? I didn't have a definite answer at the time, so I went down my list of wants: freedom, happiness, health, wealth. They are also in my affirmations. I am free, I am happy, I am healthy, I am rich. As I thought about it, I had freedom to write about what I wanted. I'm happy when I'm doing something that I love and feel that I'm operating in my purpose. Writing is often therapeutic for me, so that covers the health part. But what about the wealth? Well, I can only give of myself and hope that it will attract the riches. Then there was the question of who my audience was and what I wanted them to get out of my writing. This brings me to you, whoever you are reading this. You are my audience, and I will share my purpose with you so that you have an understanding of what I would like you to get from me. And I also put my poem in here. So I'll read that. I can actually recite that because this is one of the ones that, I actually
Sure, do it.
yeah. So, doing tally to the Most High. My desire is strong, keeping me going, pursuing the throne that I'm focused on, simply because of what my mind told me I can hold. And it's mine to own if I just get it right and keep from wrong. All it be is to succeed, whatever that may be. For me, it's what I chose to make important to me, taken from my experience and escapades. Not faulting being a spade for cutting hearts. It's my time in the dark that makes me appreciate the light. And through I fight. It increases my might and my advances alike. My feelings I write, I thought. But it's that thought brought from that burn in my gut to erupt ideas of enterprise as well as rhymes to put me in a place that I visualize on top of a vast empire with the sole purpose to inspire. To God be the glory. So, my goal will be to inspire you. Hopefully, something that I share with you will provoke thought or suggest something that you'll put into practice. Most of what most of what I have read over the years has shown me the power of thoughts and words. I ask that you start taking the time to meditate on how you would like to see yourself and create affirmations or a mission statement for your life. I realize how my past thinking and feeling about myself have led me to where I am today. I decided to take control so that I can fulfill my purpose. What about you? And the exercise is think about what you have gone through and what brought you to this point. What has it taught you? What do you think it has prepared you for? Who can help you with what you learned? How can you help them? Do you believe this gives you purpose? If so, how? So I'm gonna stop sharing and see my my at the point of writing that.
Could I just like say something as a fellow
Sure,
poet about the poem that you recited?
sure.
Slow down, Jamar. I mean, this is what everybody tells me. I what I got memorized. I like rapid fire, and it just like goes over 90% of the people's heads because even though they can catch sort of like a wave of what you're saying, they can't catch the whole ocean. So basically, if we could go back and if you could read that poem again, but slowly, I think it would have much more impact because I mean I was following along with the words and I was going fast, but there's some worthy ideas and deep thoughts in there. I think we should go over again.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna finish my thought before I go back to that though.
Okay.
When I was reading, I mean, when I was writing that stuff, I had to analyze everything in which brought me to that place, right? That place and where I was. And so it was like, okay, now the things that I liked, the things that I didn't like, the lessons that I learned in life, the good, bad, the ugly, and everything. And it was just like, all right, what is this all for, right? And it's like, what is this preparing me for? What am I supposed to do with all of this? And just taking in my collective experience or the total of my experience, it was more so, okay, well, I'm looking at my creativity and my ability, what I was actually doing in the place where I was, the past that brought me there, the experience that it gave me, and how it could be that I could actually use that to help other people. And so when I mentioned the whole thing about the writings and stuff that I've read of other people, um, m- many of those authors were dead. It's not like they could have an actual conversation with me. I could see
Right.
them, know them. However, they left work that I could read, you know, work that I can learn from, different lessons in which they passed down that I can be able to learn about. And so, with the whole thing dealing with the mass incarceration, um, this is like something that has never happened before, except for like different periods of enslavement and stuff like that, right? So when you have that, and it's like this is what I'm experiencing, and there's a lot of people affected by it. How do I help them? You know. So that's what gave purpose. And see, what's ironic is that poem that I wrote, my purpose. I had that far before I got incarcerated, you know.
Mm.
And it was just one of those things that I remember. I want to say, and I'm not 100% sure, but I want to say that I had put that together on the train, on the metro train, before. And I'm not sure if it was a period of while in high school or afterwards, after I got out of DC jail and I was back and forth to the construction sites or wherever else I was going where I was working. So I'll say the poem again and slow it down because you're not the first person that said to slow down. It's just right now Like honestly, I'm just transitioning back to being home. It's a lot going on. I have a data report that I gotta do. I got some other stuff, so I'm just kind of,
Right.
so.
Well, let's take a breath and just let the words flow from your soul rather than from your mind, Jamar.
Okay, so here we go. Due entirely to the Most High. My desire strong, keeping me going, pursuing the throne that I'm focused on simply because of what my mind told me I can hold. And it's mine to own if I just get it right and keep from wrong. All it be is to succeed, whatever that may be. For me, it's what I chose to make important to me, taken from my experience and escapades, not faulting being a spade for cutting hearts. It's my time in the dark to make me appreciate the light, and through I fight. It increases my might and my advances alike. My feelings are right, I thought, but it's that thought brought from that burn in my gut to erupt ideas of enterprise as well as rhymes to put me in the place that I visualize on top of a vast empire with the sole purpose to inspire. So, as we
And
talk
then
about,
they close with "Glory be to
yeah,
God."
to God be the glory. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and we can't forget that.
Yes,
That's a whole close.
yes, sir. So, one of the things in reading these various books, some of them from great authors, some of them, lesser known, um, especially when it came to like the Napoleon Hills and certain people that actually did a lot of selling. Um, these people were able to take their words and their experiences and not only have, what do you call it, like they have them now like these masterminds and stuff like that, but it's stuff that people been doing for a long time,
Right.
having groups of
Brain
people
trust,
come.
basically.
That's not what I was looking for. The brain trust is one thing, but it's the other thing when they have the different places where all the people come and they had the speakers. I'm trying to
Right.
think of the word for it. My brain is
Conferences?
just not.
Conferences?
Conferences, basically conferences, seminars,
Right,
that
right.
sort of thing. Where people get to sell from the stage. You have your motivational speakers,
It's a Grand
where
Cardone shit and stuff.
yeah, exactly. So, this is stuff that people have been doing for a long time, and it's just a matter of how to attract people. But you have to have something of value to get to the folks. And so, my hardships and my incarceration gave me something that I was able to do that. I was able to, through personal development, learning, and everything, be able to come up with something that's going to be able to help folks, that is or does help folks that are incarcerated. It's just a matter of now getting it to the masses, because just in Maryland, I believe that there's 23, 24 county jails, right? Because there's about 23, 24 counties. Don't quote me. I
Right,
just
right.
know it's around that number. But then there's also the Baltimore City Jail, and that's not even counting the state institutions. Then you have even some federal institutions, or so we're talking about well over 30 jails, right? So I'm not even sure the average population of those jails, but let's say, okay, in Upper Marlboro, which I visit, let's say is about, let's say, 2,000,
Oh,
if
wait.
that much, right? Um, I know on the compound where I was at RCI is short of 15. You know what I'm saying? Short of 1,500, something like that, right? Um, so with that, do the math. Let's just round everything, or let's just say it's 1,000. That's on the short end. You know, a
It's
thousand.
still 30,000
Yeah, 20.
prisoners.
Yeah, 20, 30,000 people. However, so and being able to get that in Maryland, which is one of the smallest states, you know, can be helpful. And then we talk about throughout the country, because there's a lot of people that need to know what to do to come out better, because
Right.
prison is a place that it can breed more criminals, and you'll have a majority of people that may be involved in gangs or the drug trade or whatever they need to do to survive in those places. But then you also have some brilliant folks. I'm not the only person that is well read or well versed in certain things. You know, you have a lot of people that have been there that's helping folks, that's doing great things. So it's like not only to inspire those that are doing what they need to do, but then also give pretty much a roadmap for the other ones as to how they can take their time, develop themselves, um, produce works, help others, you know, and then that way, in turn, they'll be able to contribute to society in a great way. So that's my mission. If the crack epidemic and that crime, 94 crime bill and stuff like that, took a lot of men off the streets and it destroyed neighborhoods and families, I want to do the reverse by being able to give people an example, giving people the literature, giving people the tools on how they can actually come back and add to their society, their families, help build it up.
Well, you know that we're talking about purpose, and you know, I understand and absolutely agree with everything you're saying. I was just thinking of the bigger purpose, which is if there are 30,000 people incarcerated in Maryland, and I mean, it's just like there is obviously something broken with the system where they're basically probably 15 to 20 million people in jail across the country. And that's really where the bigger purpose comes, is not only to educate the incarcerated, but to educate the general consensus to stop being so damn judgmental and I mean obviously I mean you can speak from personal experience. You believe that people who kill other people should be put in jail, I suppose, right?
I mean, I really feel, well, it's now in that situation when it becomes women as like rape victims and stuff like that. I feel like that's terrible. If you know something so happened to happen to their attacker, you know,
Right.
and then they get penalized. I feel like that's insane. That's crazy. And however that happens, of course, there's different situations where we might like, um, however, there everything there has to be a reaction to everything, like
Right.
cause and effect. Like I'm not for, you know, people just getting away with, you know, stuff like that. I take accountability for what I did, and there's a lot of other things that I didn't get caught for that just like, well, if I had to pay some type of way, you know. So, um, I wanted to touch on the fact because we talked about numbers, but as far as I was told, at one point in time, it was 2.3 million
Oh, okay. Thank
incarcerated people in the country, right?
you. Which is
2.3 to 2.4. Hopefully that number has decreased, but we still talking about 2 million. Let's
right.
just say 2 million. That's a lot of people, right? And when reading books like The Meaning of Life, that was produced, I can't remember the brother's name, but the Sentencing Project was talking about life and virtual life sentences, right? Even when they break down the numbers, you also have books like Michelle Alexander, The New Jim Crow, that kind of goes into various things that incarcerate people. Addiction, right? Um, Addiction leads to a lot of crime. If
Right.
you have drug habits, right? Now there's theft, there's a lot of things that go on because a person has this addiction. No matter if the drug um, becomes a physical dependency or a psychological dependency, this goes into crime and criminal behavior. Now the thing about it though is people with addicts that are addicts, they typically, or addicts, or I'm not sure the technical term because we have to be aware of this language now. These are people that have a high chance of going to reoffend, right? And so they'll get charged, they'll be in and out of jail, things like that. So that causes a high recidivism rate, right?
Right.
However, you have a person that may have assaulted somebody, took somebody's, unfortunately took somebody's life, stuff like that. Depending on the circumstances, these are the things that have to be looked into also, because these are not people that are going to offend, really offend a whole lot. This is what the numbers show. Sure,
Right.
it's a harsh crime, but these are things that have to be looked into when it comes into the numbers, what's going to happen, giving a person another chance. And the situation should determine the sentencing,
Right.
which a lot of times is not necessarily that. It's more so, well, these are the guidelines. This is what's happening with that. And then, of course, you have people who may have violent backgrounds. So if they have a violent background, then it's most likely that, yeah, that may happen again.
Right.
And then things that's not looked into is why. Why does that person have a violent background? Why do they have a violent past? What environment were they in? What mental issues do they have? Anything like that. I've also learned, and see, a lot of guys that I were locked up with were from the Baltimore area or from Baltimore City. So Baltimore City had a problem with a lot of people getting lead poisoning. And this is not uncommon for urban areas. Lead poisoning makes people more aggressive, more violent. So when it's those situations, there's a lot of what they call, what is it? You could probably help me
Psychosis?
with this. You could probably help me. What's the behavior and cognitive therapy?
Oh, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy.
The cognitive behavioral therapy, along with depending on what's going on with somebody, it may need some medication and stuff too. Where in a lot of low income places, people may not have access to the proper treatment. So all of this stuff has to be looked into. Um,
Well,
there's a whole,
of course, a whole nother side we haven't approached yet is my side, which is the mental side, and how many people are involved in the justice system that really should be involved in the mental health system, and and you talked about addiction and everything, but mental illness, serious mental illness is like probably the most misunderstood thing in the world. And yeah, I mean, I know I've quoted this on the show, but they say that 70% that L.A. jail is like the biggest mental hospital in the world because 70% of the inmates have some sort of diagnosis and everything, and without codependency with substances and everything, and the recovery and the addiction that leads to, it's just like all a big mishmash, and and so and I don't know. It's like going to take a complete paradigm shift, a complete some sort of like insight into awareness for the whole country to realize that this system of judgment and punishment and rehabilitation and recidivism, and that's another thing is that people get comfortable. I mean, you can speak on this a lot better than I can, but I know in mental hospitals, people would get comfortable in the mental hospital and they leave and then they'd have to come back because it was the only place where they felt safe, and that's another reason for recidivism and everything, and it's just like, but I don't know what the answer is, but I know that I don't like it, and when we talk about purpose, I think if you want to really talk about true purpose and big purpose, then you have to get beyond the immediate concerns to the big picture.
So that's the whole thing about these conversations is to be able to bring things up and get people exposed to certain things because you're absolutely right. Mental health plays a lot into it. When a lot of the hospitals were shut down that dealt with mental health, yes, a lot of people end up going to prison. I've witnessed myself how there's people, and I couldn't say because I couldn't diagnose them, but let's say the homeless population. They'll commit crime when it gets cold so that they'll have a warm place to go.
Right.
You know? And not to say that because a person is homeless that they have an issue or something like that, but they just chose not to deal with well, I'm not gonna say normal society. Get with the program with everybody is with this because they might have some type of level of freedom, but then you have people that just can't, you know.
Right.
So you have that. Then we talk about energy, talk about environments. You know what I'm saying in the past, right? So if you have an environment where there's a lot of people that are mentally challenged, right? It's gonna make you feel away, and you don't necessarily have to be, but you're going to behave accordingly, you know.
Right.
And I say that because I used to always say, um, so when I used to go to psych, there's a go to psych to see Mr. Dunn, have to sign up in prison. And I really felt like I was in a mental institution because I'll say everybody crazy, and then how could I not think that I'm crazy? I'm not crazy, and it's just
Right. Right.
excuse me for my language, because I know people get sensitive about that. And so I knew something was wrong with me. I just ain't know, if I had been diagnosed. So he'd be like, "No, it's not you. You okay? I enjoy our conversations. Come and see me whenever you want to." But however, I'll be around people, and this would be mentally challenging because of the energy, the behavior, the stuff that I'm like, "No, this is not right."
Right.
And you'll have folks that experience extreme cases of paranoia, and it's like nobody's worrying about you, nobody's talking about you, and these same people can be very, very dangerous because they might want to hurt folks because
They
they
don't
think that
believe
they
what you
can.
say. They believe
Yeah,
the voices, what the voices are telling them.
and you have folks that have done a lot of shady stuff in the past that they paranoid because of that. So it heightens their sense of where they think that they have to be aware or aggressive and stuff like that. And
And it's compounded by the drugs they take, by the cocaine, the methamphetamines, whatever. Especially, but I mean,
yeah,
just from personal experience, I never got into meth at all. I never basically touched it except for like finals weeks at a boarding school when I needed to stay awake. But
hmm
basically, cocaine I got into a little bit, and it didn't really affect me. But I call it the devil's drugs. It's just like an evil substance. It's like it makes people so fucking, excuse me, we'll have to edit that, but it just makes people so focused on their own psyches they they act irrationally and everything. And so, but talking about paranoia, I meant paranoia and mental illness and everything. I'm just saying a lot of people self medicate to the
hmm
detriment to themselves, and THC is a whole nother subject we can discuss at another point. But I know cocaine and methamphetamines and speed and downers. They can be very non-beneficial to mental health.
so people that choose to self-medicate, that might be because the street drug is more accessible than going to the doctor or getting what they need, because they may not be able to afford it, may not have the insurance, maybe things that they're not comfortable with, like going to the doctor. So all of this stuff plays a part. And then in this area, like I've dealt with a lot of people with PCP addictions. or been around people that still, may have been coming down or dealing with their high, which is something totally different. And in the institutions now, um, it's what you call Suboxone. A lot of people
Right,
get high off Suboxone or get high off of K2. Now
right.
the K2 is something, and I'll be honest, I've smoked the K2 before, and it reminded me of a PCP high. It get real high and it's crazy at first, and
Right.
then there's certain things where it's like this is stuff that where some people find it enjoyable and addictive, they continue to go on, whether it's to escape or whatever. But this will be things that also will have an effect on your whole chemical balance.
Right.
Some people never come down from those PCP highs.
Yeah,
Some
so
people,
that's something I just want to interrupt you. I'm sorry, but about the medical drugs, and getting like the proper medication. The fact is that especially for serious mental illness, the drugs are so strong and they make you feel so terrible. It's not only the fact that people like the street drugs, but it's just like, okay, so basically street drugs are shots of dopamine. And what my psychiatric drugs do is they regulate dopamine. So basically, I don't. I've been taking my drugs for 45 years, so I don't feel them. But basically, when I've seen people try my drug or even new antipsychotics for the first time, they become so disoriented or so sleepy or just so like out of it that after 3 days they don't want anything further to do with it. And then even if they do stick with it for 6 months, they get to the point where they feel fine, everything is la-di-da, everything is happy, and I don't need medication, there's nothing wrong with me. I mean, this is the trap I fell into probably like 7 times, I don't need any more medication, and bam, two weeks later you're back in the hospital with the most severe psychotic episode of your life. And so that's another thing. I mean, that's something that's not talked about because nobody knows about it. But this idea that the psychiatric drugs take such tolerance to get used to in the first place that a lot of people just won't put up with them and they go back to the street drugs.
absolutely. And tying this into purposes, this is the conversations that we have to have because a lot of people are not going to even notice. A lot of people that don't deal with this, or if it was not talked about enough. Um, I remember I was in DC jail this about 20 years ago, and this was my first incarceration. It was like maybe 90 days I had set back for a violation of probation. And this guy, I was told that he was on Thorazine, whatever medicine they gave him. And I'm talking about how he was just out of it and moving around. It was so spooky to me because I was just like, he's a zombie right now.
Right.
And you got to think that right there and experience, the energy we talk about, that being around where you got folks that's that damn high that it's just like, oh my gosh, how is this person functioning? They just
They aren't high, they're disconnected. There's a
no, that's what I meant. Like, because I'm just thinking, like, if you like that made me. Have you ever been around anybody that's off of PCP?
I was one of those guys for
Off of
13 weeks.
Thorazine?
I do you know how much what my limit of Thorazine daily Thorazine was? A normal dosage of Thorazine is 25 to 50 milligrams a day for someone who's like just in the hospital. So, and having some sort of like episode or something. At my height, I was on 2,000 milligrams of Thorazine a day. I was taking, okay, so the normal limit for Thorazine is 800 milligrams a day. I was doing 2.5 times that. So basically, I was getting 400 milligrams 4 times a day, and every 2 hours when I could, I was requesting more. So I was getting because I just wanted to see how high I could take it, and it's like it was like I mean the only thing I mean it was sort of like a fun experiment, but people are amazed. But 2,000 milligrams of thorazine a day was the only person who ever had more was my best friend from the program, Randy Koff, who was on 2,400 at one point.
So have you ever been around anybody high off PCP, or have you ever been yourself?
I have. I've heard a lot of stories. One of my favorite stories of PCP is my friend who smoked a joint of PCP and went to some like concert in Madison Square Garden, and he couldn't even walk. He was like crawling along the aisle of
Exactly.
Madison Square Garden.
It it affects your your motor functions and other things. So people that's not in this see you that daggone high is just like what, and sometimes it could just be like this is crazy, and various people it affects them different way, but it's something that you can't really control the dosage of because you don't know
Right.
what you buying, when you get it. So when talking about certain drugs and the effects that it has on people, these are the things that I think about. Or like I said, that K2 when I've experienced, because it affected my motor skills, and I was
Right.
so daggone high. I remember
So what
one time
exactly
this
is
kind of
K2? I don't know what K2 is.
you're gonna have to look it up because it's crazy. I don't even know exactly what it. I
But
think it's
what's it used for?
I
Or is
think
it
it was.
just a
I know it was
recreational
supposed
drug?
to be. Yeah, it was supposed to have been like an insulin or something like that. And it's insane to me the things that I've tried. Just to be like, but I'm bringing it to the fact that these things and how they have an effect on a person, and it's one thing being in it, then there's another thing observing it when I'm sober, and it's just like that's nuts, that's crazy, and it's just like to be at that level, and for some people it may be enjoyable, but when you're mixing people all together and there's the various people, whether it's the alcohol, the Suboxone, the K2, the whatever else a person, because people were, what they call it, neuropathin or something, I can't believe, but they called it Nikes, but even the prescription drugs that people might have,
Right.
in there and mixing those and people how various things and the reaction that you have to be locked in these environment with these folks. Now out in society, sure you'll be dealing with people, but you got the option of getting away from them. You know,
Right.
if you're in an institution, you in there with them. Am I right? So you there. So it really doesn't, you know, matter like how well functioning you are because just being around all of this stuff is going to bother you. It's going to have its own challenges. So it's a must that we do this deal so that we can give people the education, give people the experience to know how to come through all of this stuff and what can be done to help folks. Because a lot of people not
Right.
gonna
Right.
know what we've experienced. People
Right.
not
That's
gonna
what I
think
was
about it. It
thinking.
might come up on a movie, come up on a show, person, oh wow. But it hasn't affected their lives enough that they've come up with a program or really done things to really help folks. It'll be like, oh no, just keep them over there or do this so. But the service I think is the purpose in which we all should have on how to, help each other out, make people aware, do things to just help society as a whole along, and even having understanding.
Well, yeah, I just like to say, just to remind people, the first 8 episodes of this podcast, Con on the Duck, are a examination and a demonstration of my Live Love program, which is the program I developed for the families of those diagnosed with schizophrenia, and so if mental health obviously is a major concern of this program. And if you're interested, not only in contacting me, we'll put the information down, but also if you're just interested in like a free demonstration of what Live Love is, then feel free to just like binge watch the first 8 episodes of Con and the Duck. And since then, we've been doing Jamar's turning adversity into advantage. I don't know if you want to like just give like a 3 minute summary about it to catch people up, Jamar. But yeah, so yeah, why don't you do that? Just give like a 3 minute summary of what your program is, who's it for, but also what its purpose is and how you see your greater purpose.
A thought that came to mind before we go into that deal is maybe we should go ahead and send these episodes to various institutions or figure out people that can actually benefit from this so that maybe they can see how this can be of service to their population, their loved ones, anybody they're concerned about that have been in those spaces that we've been in. But to speak about the turning adversity into advantage, that came from me and a good brother, Drew Ole. They also went by AC Amin, which was his Muslim name while we were in. He inspired me to write columns and newsletters while I was in there. The columns would have gone into his magazine, First Reform Self. So I did this while I was in, but we got separated because he went on to camp. So I continued to go ahead and make zines with this literature so it can be passed out on the compound. And it was for that population, the incarcerated population. What men and women would need to do to better themselves to prepare for their freedom. I was not free at the time. So I was putting all of these things in practice, not only to better myself, but prepare for the eventual freedom that I was seeking. Now, I had no definite way of becoming free. However, I was using a lot of the things that I've read from the various people and using it in my own life and then learning how to advocate for my freedom. So that's basically what turning adversity into advantage is, because both me and Dale, the Con and the Duck, have had adversity in our past where we both had to be institutionalized. And so what we did is take that and turned it into an advantage, because we both poets, highly educated men, you know what I'm saying, have turned our what can be looked at as negative experience, but actually they were preparation for us to do this work now into something that can help benefit the populations in which we intend to serve. So that was the whole thing. Is I took all the struggle that I had before, which made me go into the drug trade, would end up having me commit a heinous violent crime that put me incarcerated for 12 years. And take that whole experience and been able to put it into something in which I can inform people as to how they can take whatever their troubled past may have been or whatever struggles it is, and then be able to write themselves into their future and in or the present in which they want, because I wrote my freedom. And that's what this whole program is about. That's my brand. That's what I'm always pushing, writing freedom.
Beautiful. And yeah, I just so when you said maybe we should one thing I had a brainstorm of just before with the show began was you're talking about like getting this generally distributed, but I thought you could start one on individually just by I'm sure AI could like make a 30-minute summary of each episode, and maybe you could use that as a video introduction to every session that you have inside with other people.
That's something I could definitely consider to see about how to do that. But I want to pretty much make people aware. So it's how do we do that? So go off of what you just said, right? Use the AI. Break that down. How would you do
Right. Well, the other thing is that we are, through our collaboration, co-creating a field of awareness and understanding that reverberates a lot more than the 10 people who are watching the show right now. Because I truly feel that that no person is a person is an individual body. I feel every person is their energy. And I know our energy is absolutely purely electric because not only what we've been through together, but what our purpose is and what we're trying to achieve in this podcast together, but also just as individuals trying to live as better human beings serving mankind.
hmm Definitely, definitely. So that's the push, and I have to put some more time and consideration into that because it was just at first getting it done. You know, people doing podcasts like, oh, podcast, you shot the idea at me, and we both have a program, and it was like, oh, okay. And then after hearing about, most people don't even do 20 episodes. I'm like, well, together with just our program, we'll do 20 episodes. But now it's more so, um, all of this it has to be for a reason, and getting it in front of the right people so that they can go ahead, get the content, and hopefully it can help them. So that's what we'll do then. I definitely
Uh,
want it.
I think just our attitude itself is enlightening and inspiring because you know I think maybe the reason people aren't going to haven't been watching is because maybe they think we're victims and like we're just going to complain about the system and everything, and that's not our purpose, that's not our goal, and our goal is to give insights and wisdom from beyond the depths of a pit that most humans have not experienced.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't thinking about why people weren't. I just did feel like not don't enough people know, and that's with a lot of things right now, Dale. Like even with the stuff that I'm doing, not enough people know. Even though
Right,
I'll be consistent in social media and stuff, it's within the people that already have some type of knowledge with me. It's not like I'm putting a whole lot of money into marketing and things right now. You got to think
right,
I've been out here, it's just been a little bit over 2 years now. Certain times have been a struggle. It's still, I work, still don't get paid enough,
right.
and it's still reinvesting into the business and doing things that can, and still just out here living, to the best of my
Right.
ability. So it's learning to be more strategic and intentional with all of this.
Well,
So,
it's also learning the how to strategize the algorithm because you're only as big as the screens you reach. So that's really that's what everybody talks about. Become the algorithm's friend, but actually. I feel that we are beyond the algorithm because we're dealing in issues that nobody else deals with. I mean, no one else has our experience. I mean, that I know of. Of course, I'm like I'm very myopic in my knowledge of YouTube, but I really don't think that anybody else has the type of co-hosting credentials that we do.
yeah, so it's just tapping into that, finding out the populations that deal with incarceration, those that deal with mental health, being able to tap into those populations and get the word out. And because like I said, I do a whole lot. I haven't been making all of the time to do it, but we will. And then even the population of people that enjoy poetry.
Hey,
Yeah.
well, I meant, this just flashed through my head is law enforcement. I meant if law enforcement could see us, then I think that could have a very positive effect on things. Just because, law enforcement is in such a confrontational situation with people with our history, and if they could see that we're on their side too, then I think that would be very helpful too. And I mean the whole purpose and the whole thing is to soften the judgmental authoritarian uh, iron scepter that authority has over the individual, and to grow in self-sovereignty, and to stop being a victim and take responsibility and grow into your greatness.
Hmm. Definitely. So you gave me a lot of things to think about, because I just had a meeting dealing with the Right and Freedom program that I'll be doing with DPSCS, and I always have to remember exactly what it is. Of the Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services or something,
Oh, okay.
because it used to
Very
be
good. Very good.
Department of Corrections, right? So they
Right.
switched it up because language and all this other stuff. But here in Maryland is DPSCS, and seeing how that program could fit with them and maybe get referrals. But now that I'm tapped into that in the state of Maryland, then there's more that I can do as far as pushing and letting people know, like, look, this is exists, this is it. And one of my goals were to get, and still is to get on the tablets, because they have tablets in the institutions now. And so
Right.
if that's something in which people can watch if they choose to, and it could be educational, then hopefully it could help. So
Well, I was just thinking, go for it. I mean, if especially, well, I was thinking two things. First off, in your personal classes, you can like evergreen, and just just be have the videos and have people use our videos to introduce the class for like 30 minutes, and then take the discussion from there. There's no reason why we actually have to be at every class, because we got these videos. So, if you approach the people at corrections and say, this is an idea I have, this is a podcast I'm doing, and this is an edited version that I want to use, and this week for this discussion, I don't see how they could have any problem with it, especially if they've already approved the program.
yeah, we'll get to that, because there's certain things that either the time or space won't allow. Like,
Right,
you can't do that in the prisons, you know.
right,
Because I'm not coming in there with the technology is not available on the tier where I'm at. And if it's
right.
not on the tablet, it's not there. Then the other places is. So I'll inform them, and then let them become aware of it, and then we see how that goes. But,
Great.
yeah.
So, you want to you have a final? I have a not a hot one off the press. Uh, so this is let me see. You want to hear about my campaign, or my leaving behind false diagnosis?
Sure. Leaving
Which one?
behind false diagnosis.
Okay. When I was first told I was insane, it took a long time to process in brain, because I had no concept of delusion, and how authority so jealously isolates the vaults of the divine secret of knowledge. And so I've come on a solitary trip for the last half century of silence, when blocks to communication fail and all instances disappear into peace of the battles receded from my perceptions. Thus all the mental captivity I endured, poofed like a magic dragon, as I ascended without stop past the conclusions of shrinking masses, until I was able to speak my truth, refined over 50 years of truly earnest interrogation into how my mind works, giving answers no matter how esoteric to the questions people ask in fear, which I've dealt with for over this year.
I got one for you. I done wrote this. I just realized it was wrote on January 6th.
Oh, okay.
But this was written 6 years ago, when it was 2020, and I titled it 2020 Vision.
Okay.
2020 is perfect vision, so I'm visualizing things the way I want them to be. DPSCS has prohibited us from taking pictures, so it's up to me. I see myself free, able to be with my daughter in her early teens, helping her with her first job, teaching her how to drive a car, helping her be legit with work and driver's permit, seeing all that I want to exist, and having the freedom to take the pics. I envision seeing her away for prom, threatening some young man like Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Ain't gonna be no fucking. Letting them know that her father used to be a bad boy, making her blush and embarrassed, but simultaneously sparking laughter and joy. My perfect vision has to make me see, because I'm no longer able to have pictures when visited by family. My perfect vision is where I'm happy, healthy, rich, and free, where I'm no longer deprived in a correctional facility. My perfect vision has to be crystallized so I can realize all that I want to see. My perfect vision has to become reality because I have faith in God's love and His power in me. My perfect vision, 2020.
All reality is a projection of your perceptions, of your eyes, of your vision.
Now I'm able to live it. 6
Yeah,
years
yeah.
later. Yeah. So,
Okay, everybody. We'll put Jamar's and my information in the information box, and thank you very much for joining us. Spread the word of the con and the duck. We don't play around. We talk about the real issues. And Jamar, is ever a pleasure. And just take care, everybody.
all right, good night.